Las Vegas tourism is down, and some blame the economy. Others say tariffs, and even Las Vegas Strip casinos have acknowledged the issue.
City inspectors have documented the deplorable conditions inside that led to 188 health and fire code violations.
It's one of the most disgusting places I've been in years. Cockroaches, bed bugs, trash, garbage, mold.
And it's not just one hotel in crisis. Investigator Masa Saidi reveals how several locations have been abruptly abandoned.
Every recession in modern history hit luxury hotels hardest. The wealthy cut back on expensive vacations. Budget properties stayed full with travelers trading down. Economy hotels weathered storms that devastated five-star resorts, except that pattern just reversed. Completely. Luxury hotels are thriving right now, about 2/3 seeing demand increases, growing revenue roughly 2% while the economy segment collapsed over 4%. That's a performance gap of over 6 percentage points between the top and bottom of the market, which is quite a statement about who gets to travel anymore. Here's what's driving this split. The top 10% of American earners, households making over $250,000 annually, now account for half of all consumer spending in the country. Half. That's up from about a third in the 1990s. From late 2023 to late 2024, high-income households increased spending by over 10%. Lower and middle-income spending? It declined. So when luxury travelers take over 5 trips per year spending over $5,000 per trip, while average travelers manage under 3 trips annually at under $2,000 per trip, what happens to the hotel industry? It splits in two. Here's something that reveals the scale of the reversal. During the 2008 financial crisis, luxury hotels got crushed. Revenue dropped over 20% in some months. Budget properties showed resilience as people traded down. Today, luxury construction projects grew almost 50% year over year, the highest growth rate of any hotel segment. Meanwhile, economy hotels added rooms representing about 1% of existing supply, the lowest of all categories. Marriott's CEO called this a fundamental psychographic change that will support luxury hotel demand for decades to come. He's not talking about a temporary trend. He's talking about a permanent restructuring of who travels and how they travel. The middle class is getting priced out, and the data is absolutely brutal. Real wage growth from early 2021 through mid-2025 shows purchasing power slightly down. Nominal wages grew about 22%, but inflation hit almost 23%. For over 2 years straight, 25 consecutive months, inflation outpaced wages, significantly eroding household financial buffers. Credit card debt reached over $1.2 trillion. Delinquency rates have risen for 10 consecutive quarters. In the lowest income areas, 90-day delinquency rates surged from about 13% to over 20%, almost a 60% increase. Even highest income areas saw delinquency rates climb 80%, though from a much lower starting point. Bank of America found something darkly perfect in their consumer data. The percentage of people paying credit cards in full monthly hit an all-time high, while simultaneously the percentage making only minimum payments also hit an all-time high. That's the K-shaped economy in one statistic. Some people are fine, some people are drowning, and there's nobody in the middle anymore. Here's where this gets personal for travelers. The gap in lodging spending between the top 20% of earners and everyone else increased over a third in just 4 years. That gap went from about $1,300 per household to over $1,700. Budget and mid-scale hotels face a destructive combination. Insurance costs up over 17%, property taxes up over 4%, maintenance up 5%. But they have almost no pricing power. Room rate growth outside luxury is running below inflation, which creates this vicious cycle. Margin pressure leads to deferred maintenance and reduced service quality. That makes properties less competitive, which further pressures rates and occupancy, which forces more cuts. So what happens to a budget hotel when it can't raise prices enough to cover rising costs? It degrades. Fewer towels, longer wait times, deferred repairs, eventually, closure. New York's outer markets lost about 14% of budget hotel supply from 2023 to 2024. Those properties didn't upgrade, they just closed. Meanwhile, luxury hotels are launching yacht cruises. Amman is deploying a 600-foot vessel. Ritz-Carlton already operates 3 yacht vessels. Four Seasons has over 130 branded residential properties in the pipeline, 50% growth since 2019. The ultra-luxury segment posted ratings over 80% across top brands. They're not just surviving, they're expanding aggressively into new categories and price points that make traditional luxury look almost affordable by comparison. Here's what reveals how global this problem is. Europe shows even stronger luxury outperformance than the United States. Luxury hotels there posted revenue growth over 15%, while budget segment revenue fell almost 8%. The Middle East demonstrates the most extreme split globally. In Dubai, almost 2/3 of new hotel rooms added recently were luxury or upper upscale. About 7 in 10 of Dubai's entire hotel inventory consists of luxury properties, the highest concentration globally. 3-star hotels saw supply decline almost half. So if you're a middle-class family in Europe or the Middle East trying to find affordable accommodation, where exactly are you supposed to stay? Latin America leads all regions in pricing growth, with average hotel rates reaching over $265 per night, over 12% year-over-year increase. Premium segments account for over half of all development projects in the pipeline. Asia presents a mixed picture, but the investment story is clear. Upscale and above segments are most appealing for investors despite various market challenges. China accounts for about 1/3 of global hotel construction pipeline, oriented heavily toward luxury despite domestic demand softness. About 3/4 of cross-border investment into U.S. hotels targets upper-priced properties. That's not diversification. That's a bet that only wealthy people will travel. The reversal from historical patterns should terrify anyone who remembers 2008. During that crisis, research on ultra-luxury Caribbean resorts found that occupancy gaps between luxury and ultra-luxury properties narrowed dramatically. Luxury demand collapsed. The 2001 recession and 9/11 attacks showed the same pattern. Revenue plummeted over 23% immediately. Luxury segments got hit hardest, while interstate and small-town properties fared better. That's how it's supposed to work. When times get tough, wealthy people cut discretionary spending. They cancel expensive vacations. Budget properties benefit as people trade down. Except that's not happening anymore. 2/3 of luxury hotels saw demand increases in 2024, despite elevated inflation and financial stress for most households. This marks a fundamental shift in how economic downturns affect different market segments. The spending concentration explains it. When the wealthiest 10% drive about 1/3 of U.S. GDP through their spending alone, and their income comes primarily from assets rather than wages, they're insulated from the economic pressures crushing everyone else. Stock portfolios at record highs, luxury hotels stay full. Real wages declining for workers, budget hotels empty out. Here's where middle-class travelers are adapting, booking longer stays at cheaper accommodations, increasing off-peak travel, shifting to more affordable destinations. Albania saw over 85% growth in visitor arrivals, while the UK declined over 10% and France fell 15%. Short-term rental reservations increased over half in North America, compared to pre-pandemic levels. Airbnb now commands almost half of the global vacation rental market, up from about 28% just 5 years ago. That's a massive 16 percentage point gain as travelers flee increasingly expensive or degraded hotel options. But these adaptations have limits, by the way. If budget hotel quality continues deteriorating while luxury prices rise further above inflation, what's the middle class supposed to do? Pay significantly more for luxury experiences they can't afford, or accept degraded quality in lower tiers? Some will just stop traveling. Leisure spending is typically first on the chopping block because it's discretionary. The development pipeline reinforces the split. The overall U.S. pipeline reached over 6,000 projects, containing over 740,000 rooms, record levels. But luxury projects grew at almost 50% year over year, while economy hotels added minimal new construction. Upper mid-scale and upscale categories account for over half of the pipeline. Extended stay concepts dominate, favored by developers for lower construction costs while maintaining acceptable revenue potential. Traditional budget hotels? Negative supply growth in many markets. Investment patterns create a self-reinforcing cycle. Limited luxury supply due to high development costs and scarce locations constrains supply growth to 2 to 3% annually. That's well below demand growth from high-income travelers. Supply-demand imbalance sustains pricing power. Abundant budget supply from decades of development, combined with declining demand from financially stressed lower-income households, creates oversupply. That depresses returns and discourages new investment. So the rich get richer. Luxury hotels maintain pricing power, attracting investment, which enables renovations and service improvements, which justifies higher prices. Budget hotels lose pricing power, can't attract investment, degrade from deferred maintenance, and lose more customers. Industry forecasts for 2025 project modest overall growth but continued segment divergence. Analysts explicitly note higher-end hotels predicted to drive industry performance, with economy segments expected to stabilize at best after deeply negative 2024 performance. The luxury pipeline ensures continued growth in premium supply. Major openings scheduled include Amman, Bangkok, multiple Ritz-Carlton properties, Rosewood, Amsterdam, and Doha, numerous Four Seasons branded residences. Marriott operates over 600 luxury hotels globally, with about 300 in the pipeline. Hyatt's acquisition spending tops $2.5 billion targeting luxury assets. Here's the question nobody's asking. If this pattern continues for another decade, does travel become a luxury class amenity rather than a broadly accessible middle-class experience? The implications go beyond vacation planning. Travel has historically been democratic, accessible across income levels with quality tiers but shared experiences. The Grand Canyon doesn't care if you stayed at a Ritz-Carlton or a Motel 6. The museums in Paris work the same way for everyone. But if middle-class families can't afford the hotels anymore, they stop going, and travel becomes something rich people do while everyone else watches on social media. Some argue innovation will fill the middle market gap. Technology-enabled efficiency improvements might allow viable mid-scale business models. Extended stay concepts proliferate, serving value-conscious travelers. Subscription and membership models create new access patterns. Marriott's entry into mid-scale with new brands represents a bet on providing quality options at affordable price points. The goal? Widening the funnel to bring people into the loyalty platform at earlier life stages. Maybe that works. Maybe extended stay properties and alternative accommodations provide enough relief to maintain middle-class travel access. Or maybe we're watching the permanent bifurcation of travel into luxury experiences for the wealthy and degraded options for everyone else. With nothing in between except closed hotels and locked dreams. The pattern is historically unprecedented. The spending concentration is accelerating. The investment flows overwhelmingly favor luxury. And Marriott's CEO thinks this is a fundamental psychographic change lasting decades. Travel used to be something Americans did regardless of income. You saved up, you planned carefully, you found deals. But you could go. Now the top 10% take over 5 trips per year, spending over $5,000 each time. Everyone else manages under 3 trips at under $2,000, and the gap keeps widening. The hotels are splitting, the destinations are splitting, the entire experience is splitting into parallel universes that increasingly don't overlap. And if you're wondering which universe you're in, just check your credit card statement. If you're paying it in full every month, the luxury hotels are waiting. If you're making minimum payments, the budget properties are degrading, and the middle ground is disappearing faster than anyone's willing to admit.